Yours affectionately, J. Austen. Footnote. Chapter 61. Chawton, Wednesday, Sep. 28. My dear Anna, I hope you do not depend on having your book again immediately. I kept it that your grandmamma may hear it, for it has not been possible yet to have any public reading. I have read it to your Aunt Cassandra, however, in our own room at night, while we undressed, and with a great deal of pleasure. We liked the first chapter extremely, with only a little doubt whether Lady Helena is not almost too foolish. The matrimonial dialogue is very good, certainly. I like Susan as well as ever, and begin now not to care at all about Cecilia. She may stay at Easton Court as long as she likes. Henry Mellish will be, I am afraid, too much in the common novel style. A handsome, amiable, unexceptionable young man, such as do not much abound in real life, desperately in love and all in vain. But I have no business to judge him so early. Jane Egerton is a very natural, comprehensible girl, and the whole of her acquaintance with Susan and Susan's letter to Cecilia are very pleasing and quite in character. But Miss Egerton does not entirely satisfy us. She is too formal and solemn, we think, in her advice to her brother not to fall in love, and it is hardly like a sensible woman. It is putting it into his head. We should like a few hints from her better. We feel really obliged to you for introducing a Lady Kenrick. It will remove the greatest fault in the work, and I give you credit for considerable forbearance as an author in adopting so much of our opinion. I expect high fun about Mrs. Fisher and Sir Thomas. You have been perfectly right in telling Ben Leffrey of your work, and I am very glad to hear how much he likes it. His encouragement and approbation must be quite beyond everything. I do not at all wonder at his not expecting to like anybody so well as Cecilia at first, but I shall be surprised if he does not become a Susanite in time. Devereux Forester's being ruined by his vanity is extremely good, but I wish you would not let him plunge into a vortex of dissipation. I do not object to the thing, but I cannot bear the expression. It is such thorough novel slang, and so old that I dare say Adam met with it in the first novel he opened. Indeed, I did very much like to know Ben's opinion. I hope he will continue to be pleased with it, and I think he must, but I cannot flatter him with there being much incident. We have no great right to wonder at his not valuing the name of Pergillian. That is a source of delight which even he can hardly be quite competent to. Walter Scott has no business to write novels, especially good ones. It is not fair. He has fame and profit enough as a poet, and should not be taking the bread out of the mouths of other people. I do not like him, and do not mean to like Waverley, if I can help it, but fear I must. I am quite determined, however, not to be pleased with Mrs. West's Alicia de Lacy. Should I ever meet with it, which I hope I shall not, I think I can be stout against anything written by Mrs. West. I have made up my mind to like no novels really but Miss Edgeworth's, yours, and my own. What can you do with Egerton to increase the interest for him? I wish you could contrive something, some family occurrence to bring out his good qualities more, some distress among brothers and sisters to relieve by the sale of his curacy, something to carry him mysteriously away, and then be heard of at York or Edinburgh in an old greatcoat. I would not seriously recommend anything improbable, but if you could invent something spirited for him, it would have a good effect. He might lend all his money to Captain Morris, but then he would be a great fool if he did. Cannot the Morrises quarrel and he reconcile them? Excuse the liberty I take in these suggestions. Your Aunt Frank's nursemaid has just given her warning, but whether she is worth your having, or would take your place, I know not. She was Mrs. Webb's maid before she went to the great house. She leaves your aunt because she cannot agree with the other servants. She is in love with the man, and her head seems rather turned. He returns her affection, but she fancies everyone else is wanting him and envying her. Her previous service must have fitted her for such a place as yours, and she is very active and cleanly. The Webbs are really gone. When I saw the wagons at the door, and thought of all the trouble they must have in moving, I began to reproach myself for not having liked them better. But since the wagons have disappeared, my conscience has been closed again, and I am excessively glad they are gone. I am very fond of Sherlock's sermons, and prefer them to almost any. Your affectionate Aunt J. Austen. If you wish me to speak to the maid, let me know. Footnote. Chapter 62. To Miss Frances Austen. Chawton, Friday, no, 1814. I feel quite as doubtful as you could be, my dearest Fanny, as to when my letter may be finished, for I can command very little quiet time at present. But yet I must begin, for I know you will be glad to hear as soon as possible, and I really am impatient myself to be writing something on so very interesting a subject, though I have no hope of writing anything to the purpose. I shall do very little more, I dare say, than say over again what you have said before. I was certainly a good deal surprised at first, as I had no suspicion of any change in your feelings, and I have no scruple in saying that you cannot be in love. My dear Fanny, I am ready to laugh at the idea, and yet it is no laughing matter to have had you so mistaken as to your own feelings. And with all my heart I wish I had cautioned you on that point when first you spoke to me. But though I did not think you then much in love, I did consider you as being attached in a degree quite sufficiently for happiness, as I had no doubt it would increase with opportunity. And from the time of our being in London together, I thought you really very much in love. But you certainly are not at all, there is no concealing it. What strange creatures we are. It seems as if your being secure of him had made you indifferent. There was a little disgust, I suspect, at the races, and I do not wonder at it. His expressions then would not do for one who had rather more acuteness, penetration, and taste than love, which was your case. And yet, after all, I am surprised that the change in your feelings should be so great. He is just what he ever was, only more evidently and uniformly devoted to you. This is all the difference. How shall we account for it? My dearest Fanny, I am writing what will not be of the smallest use to you. I am feeling differently every moment, and shall not be able to suggest a single thing that can assist your mind. I could lament in one sentence and laugh in the next, but as to opinion or counsel I am sure that none will be extracted worth having from this letter. I read yours through the very evening I received it, getting away by myself. I could not bear to leave off when I had once begun. I was full of curiosity and concern. Luckily you're at C dined at the other house, therefore I had not to maneuver away from her, and as to anybody else I do not care. Poor dear Mr. A. Oh, dear Fanny, your mistake has been one that thousands of women fall into. He was the first young man who attached himself to you. That was the charm, and most powerful it is. Among the multitudes, however, that make the same mistake with yourself, there can be few indeed who have so little reason to regret it. His character and his attachment leave you nothing to be ashamed of. Upon the whole, what is to be done? You have no inclination for any other person. His situation in life, family, friends, and above all his character, his uncommonly amiable mind, strict principles, just notions, good habits, all that you know so well how to value, all that is really of the first importance. Everything of this nature pleads his cause most strongly. You have no doubt of his having superior abilities. He has proved it at the university. He is, I dare say, such a scholar as your agreeable, idle brothers would ill bear a comparison with. Oh, my dear Fanny, the more I write about him, the warmer my feelings become, the more strongly I feel the sterling worth of such a young man, and the desirableness of your growing in love with him again. I recommend this most thoroughly. There are such beings in the world, perhaps one in 1,000, as the creature you and I should think perfection, where grace and spirit are united to worth, where the manners are equal to the heart and understanding. But such a person may not come in your way, or, if he does, he may not be the eldest son of a man of fortune, the near relation of your particular friend, and belonging to your own county. Think of all this, Fanny. Mr. A has advantages which we do not often meet in one person. His only fault, indeed, seems modesty. If he were less modest, he would be more agreeable, speak louder, and look impudenter. And is not it a fine character of which modesty is the only defect? I have no doubt he will get more lively and more like yourselves as he is more with you. He will catch your ways if he belongs to you. And as to there being any objection from his goodness, from the danger of his becoming even evangelical, I cannot admit that. I am by no means convinced that we ought not all to be evangelicals, and am at least persuaded that they who are so from reason and feeling must be happiest and safest. Do not be frightened from the connection by your brother's having most wit. Wisdom is better than wit, and in the long run will certainly have the laugh on her side. And don't be frightened by the idea of his acting more strictly up to the precepts of the New Testament than others. And now, my dear Fanny, having written so much on one side of the question, I shall turn round and entreat you not to commit yourself farther, and not to think of accepting him unless you really do like him. Anything is to be preferred or endured rather than marrying without affection, and if his deficiencies of manner, etc., etc., strike you more than all his good qualities, if you continue to think strongly of them, give him up at once. Things are now in such a state that you must resolve upon one or the other, either to allow him to go on as he has done, or whenever you are together behave with a coldness which may convince him that he has been deceiving himself. I have no doubt of his suffering a good deal for a time, a great deal when he feels that he must give you up. But it is no creed of mine, as you must be well aware, that such sort of disappointments kill anybody. Your sending the music was an admirable device. It made everything easy, and I do not know how I could have accounted for the parcel otherwise. For though your dear papa most conscientiously hunted about till he found me alone in the dining parlor, your Aunt C had seen that he had a parcel to deliver. As it was, however, I do not think anything was suspected. We have heard nothing fresh from Anna. I trust she is very comfortable in her new home. Her letters have been very sensible and satisfactory, with no parade of happiness, which I like them the better for. I have often known young married women write in a way I did not like in that respect. You will be glad to hear that the first edition of MP is all sold. Your Uncle Henry is rather wanting me to come to town to settle about a second edition, but as I could not very conveniently leave home now, I have written him my will and pleasure, and unless he still urges it, shall not go. I am very greedy and want to make the most of it, but as you are much above caring about money, I shall not plague you with any particulars. The pleasures of vanity are more within your comprehension, and you will enter into mine at receiving the praise which every now and then comes to me through some channel or other. Saturday, Mr. Palmer spent yesterday with us and is gone off with Cassie this morning. We have been expecting Miss Lloyd the last 2 days and feel sure of her today. Mr. Knight and Mr. Edud Knight are to dine with us, and on Monday they are to dine with us again, accompanied by their respectable host and hostess. Sunday, your papa had given me messages to you, but they are unnecessary, as he writes by this post to Aunt Louisa. We had a pleasant party yesterday, at least we found it so. It is delightful to see him so cheerful and confident. Aunt Cass and I dine at the great house today. We shall be a snug half-dozen. Miss Lloyd came, as we expected, yesterday, and desires her love. She is very happy to hear of your learning the harp. I do not mean to send you what I owe Miss Hare, because I think you would rather not be paid beforehand. Yours very affectionately, Jane Austen. Miss Knight, Goodnestone Farm, Wingham, Kent. Footnote. Chapter 63. Chawton, No, 1814. My dear Anna, I met Harriet Benn yesterday. She gave me her congratulations and desired they might be forwarded to you, and there they are. The chief news from this country is the death of old Mrs. Dormer. Mrs. Clement walks about in a new black velvet pelisse lined with yellow and a white bobbin net veil, and looks remarkably well in them. I think I understand the country about Hendon from your description. It must be very pretty in summer. Should you know from the atmosphere that you were within a dozen miles of London? Make everybody at Hendon admire Mansfield Park. Your affectionate Aunt J. A. Chapter 64. Hans Place, No, 1814. My dear Anna, I assure you we all came away very much pleased with our visit. We talked of you for about a mile and a half with great satisfaction, and I have been just sending a very good report of you to Miss Benn, with a full account of your dress for Susan and Maria. We were all at the play last night to see Miss O'Neill in Isabella. I do not think she was quite equal to my expectations. I fancy I want something more than can be. I took 2 pocket handkerchiefs, but had very little occasion for either. She is an elegant creature, however, and hugs Mr. Young delightfully. I am going this morning to see the little girls in Capel Street. Cassie was excessively interested about your marriage when she heard of it, which was not until she was to drink your health on the wedding day. She asked 1,000 questions in her usual manner, what he said to you and what you said to him. If your uncle were at home, he would send his best love, but I will not impose any base fictitious remembrances on you. Mine I can honestly give and remain. Your affectionate aunt, J. Austen. Chapter 65. Hans Place, Wednesday. My dear Anna, I have been very far from finding your book an evil, I assure you. I read it immediately and with great pleasure. I think you are going on very well. The description of Dr. Griffin and Lady Helena's unhappiness is very good, and just what was likely to be. I am curious to know what the end of them will be. The name of Newton Priors is really invaluable. I never met with anything superior to it. It is delightful, and one could live on the name of Newton Priors for a 12-month. Indeed, I think you get on very fast. I only wish other people of my acquaintance could compose as rapidly. I am pleased with the dog scene and with the whole of George and Susan's love, but am more particularly struck with your serious conversations. They are very good throughout. St. Julian's history was quite a surprise to me. You had not very long known it yourself, I suspect, but I have no objection to make to the circumstance, and it is very well told. His having been in love with the aunt gives Cecilia an additional interest with him. I like the idea. A very proper compliment to an aunt. I rather imagine indeed that nieces are seldom chosen, but out of compliment to some aunt or another. I dare say Ben was in love with me once, and would never have thought of you if he had not supposed me dead of scarlet fever. Yes, I was in a mistake as to the number of books. I thought I had read 3 before the 3 at Chawton, but fewer than 6 will not do. I want to see dear Belle Griffin again, and had you not better give some hint of St. Julian's early history in the beginning of the story? We shall see nothing of Streatham while we are in town, as Mrs. Hill is to lie in of a daughter. Mrs. Blackstone is to be with her. Mrs. Heathcote and Miss Bigg are just leaving. The latter writes me word that Miss Blackford is married, but I have never seen it in the papers, and one may as well be single if the wedding is not to be in print. Your affectionate Aunt J. A. Chapter 66. 23 Hands Place, Wednesday, no, 1814. I am very much obliged to you, my dear Fanny, for your letter, and I hope you will write again soon, that I may know you to be all safe and happy at home. Our visit to Hendon will interest you, I am sure, but I need not enter into the particulars of it, as your papa will be able to answer almost every question. I certainly could describe her bedroom and her drawers and her closet better than he can, but I do not feel that I can stop to do it. I was rather sorry to hear that she is to have an instrument. It seems throwing money away. They will wish the 24 guineas in the shape of sheets and towels 6 months hence, and as to her playing, it never can be anything. Her purple pelisse rather surprised me. I thought we had known all paraphernalia of that sort. I do not mean to blame her. It looked very well, and I dare say she wanted it. I suspect nothing worse than its being got in secret and not owned to anybody. I received a very kind note from her yesterday to ask me to come again and stay a night with them. I cannot do it, but I was pleased to find that she had the power of doing so right a thing. My going was to give them both pleasure very properly. I just saw Mr. Hayter at the play, and think his face would please me on acquaintance. I was sorry he did not dine here. It seemed rather odd to me to be in the theatre with nobody to watch for. I was quite composed myself, at leisure for all the agitated Isabella could raise. Now, my dearest Fanny, I will begin a subject which comes in very naturally. You fright me out of my wits by your reference. Your affection gives me the highest pleasure, but indeed you must not let anything depend on my opinion. Your own feelings, and none but your own, should determine such an important point. So far, however, as answering your question, I have no scruple. I am perfectly convinced that your present feelings, supposing that you were to marry now, would be sufficient for his happiness. But when I think how very, very far it is from a now, and take everything that may be into consideration, I dare not say, determined to accept him. The risk is too great for you, unless your own sentiments prompt it. You will think me perverse, perhaps. In my last letter I was urging everything in his favor, and now I am inclining the other way, but I cannot help it. I am at present more impressed with the possible evil that may arise to you from engaging yourself to him, in word or mind, than with anything else. When I consider how few young men you have yet seen much of, how capable you are, yes, I do still think you very capable of being really in love, and how full of temptation the next 6 or 7 years of your life will probably be, it is the very period of life for the strongest attachments to be formed. I cannot wish you, with your present very cool feelings, to devote yourself in honor to him. It is very true that you never may attach another man his equal altogether, but if that other man has the power of attaching you more, he will be in your eyes the most perfect. I shall be glad if you can revive past feelings, and from your unbiased self resolve to go on as you have done, but this I do not expect. And without it I cannot wish you to be fettered. I should not be afraid of your marrying him. With all his worth, you would soon love him enough for the happiness of both. But I should dread the continuance of this sort of tacit engagement, with such an uncertainty as there is of when it may be completed. Years may pass before he is independent. You like him well enough to marry, but not well enough to wait. The unpleasantness of appearing fickle is certainly great. But if you think you want punishment for past illusions, there it is, and nothing can be compared to the misery of being bound without love, bound to one and preferring another. That is a punishment which you do not deserve. I know you did not meet, or rather will not meet today as he called here yesterday, and I am glad of it. It does not seem very likely, at least, that he should be in time for a dinner visit 60 miles off. We did not see him, only found his card when we came home at 4. Your Uncle H. merely observed that he was a day after the fair. We asked your brother on Monday, when Mr. Hayter was talked of, why he did not invite him too, saying, I know he is in town, for I met him the other day in Bond St. Edward answered that he did not know where he was to be found. Don't you know his chambers? No. I shall be most glad to hear from you again, my dearest Fanny, but it must not be later than Saturday, as we shall be off on Monday long before the letters are delivered, and write something that may do to be read or told. I am to take the Miss Moores back on Saturday, and when I return, I shall hope to find your pleasant little flowing scrawl on the table. It will be a relief to me after playing at Ma'am's, for though I like Miss H.M. as much as one can at my time of life after a day's acquaintance, it is uphill work to be talking to those whom one knows so little. Only one comes back with me tomorrow, probably Miss Eliza, and I rather dread it. We shall not have two ideas in common. She is young, pretty, chattering, and thinking chiefly, I presume, of dress, company, and admiration. Mr. Sanford is to join us at dinner, which will be a comfort, and in the evening, while your uncle and Miss Eliza play chess, he shall tell me comical things and I will laugh at them, which will be a pleasure to both. I called in Capel Street and saw them all, including dear Uncle Charles, who is to come and dine with us quietly today. Little Harriet sat in my lap and seemed as gentle and affectionate as ever, and as pretty, except not being quite well. Fanny is a fine stout girl, talking incessantly, with an interesting degree of lisp and indistinctness, and very likely may be the handsomest in time. Cassie did not show more pleasure in seeing me than her sisters, but I expected no better. She does not shine in the tender feelings. She will never be a Miss O'Neill, more in the Mrs. Siddons line. Thank you, but it is not settled yet whether I do hazard a second edition. We are to see Edgerton today, when it will probably be determined. People are more ready to borrow and praise than to buy, which I cannot wonder at, but though I like praise as well as anybody, I like what Edward calls pewter, too. I hope he continues careful of his eyes and finds the good effect of it. I cannot suppose we differ in our ideas of the Christian religion. You have given an excellent description of it. We only affix a different meaning to the word evangelical. Yours most affectionately, J. Austen. Miss Knight. Godmersham Park, Faversham, Kent. Footnote. Chapter 67. Chawton, Friday, Sept. 29. My dear Anna, we told Mr. B. Lefroy that if the weather did not prevent us, we should certainly come and see you tomorrow and bring Cassie, trusting to your being good enough to give her a dinner about 1 o'clock, that we might be able to be with you the earlier and stay the longer. But on giving Cassie her choice between the fare at Alton or Wiards, it must be confessed that she has preferred the former, which we trust will not greatly affront you. If it does, you may hope that some little Anne hereafter may revenge the insult by a similar preference of an Alton fare to her cousin Cassie. In the meanwhile, we have determined to put off our visit to you until Monday, which we hope will be not less convenient. I wish the weather may not resolve on another put off. I must come to you before Wednesday if it be possible, for on that day I am going to London for a week or two with your Uncle Henry, who is expected here on Sunday. If Monday should appear too dirty for walking, and Mr. Leffer would be so kind as to come and fetch me, I should be much obliged to him. Cassie might be of the party, and your Aunt Cassandra will take another opportunity. Yours very affectionately, my dear Anna. J. Austen. Note by Lord Brabourne. But before the week or two to which she had limited her visit in Hans Place was at an end, her brother fell ill, and on October 22 he was in such danger that she wrote to Steventon to summon her father to town. The letter was 2 days on the road, and reached him on Sunday the 24th. Even then he did not start immediately. In the evening he and his wife rode to Chawton, and it was not until the next day that he and Cassandra arrived in Hans Place. The malady from which Henry Austen was suffering was low fever, and he was for some days at death's door. But he rallied soon after his brother and sisters arrived, and recovered so quickly that the former was able to leave him at the end of the week. The great anxiety and fatigue which Jane underwent at this time was supposed by some of her family to have broken down her health. She was in a very feeble and exhausted condition when the bank in which her brother Henry was a partner broke, and he not only lost all that he possessed, but most of his relations suffered severely also. Jane was well enough to pay several visits with her sister in the summer of 1816, including one to Steventon, the last she ever paid to that home of her childhood. The last note which Mrs. Lefroy had preserved is dated. Chapter 68. June 23, 1816. My dear Anna, Cassie desires her best thanks for the book. She was quite delighted to see it. I do not know when I have seen her so much struck by anybody's kindness as on this occasion. Her sensibility seems to be opening to the perception of great actions. These gloves having appeared on the pianoforte ever since you were here on Friday, we imagine they must be yours. Mrs. Digweed returned yesterday through all the afternoon's rain, and was of course wet through, but in speaking of it she never once said it was beyond everything, which I am sure it must have been. Your mamma means to ride to Speen Hill tomorrow to see the Misses Hulberts, who are both very indifferent. By all accounts they really are breaking now, not so stout as the old jackass. Yours affectionately, J. A. Chawton, Sunday, June 23. Uncle Charles's birthday. Chapter 69. Hans Place, Friday, no, 1815. My dearest Cassandra, I have the pleasure of sending you a much better account of my affairs, which I know will be a great delight to you. I wrote to Mr. Murray yesterday myself, and Henry wrote at the same time to Roworth. Before the notes were out of the house, I received 3 sheets and an apology from R. We sent the notes, however, and I had a most civil one in reply from Mr. M. He is so very polite, indeed, that it is quite overcoming. The printers have been waiting for paper. The blame is thrown upon the stationer, but he gives his word that I shall have no further cause for dissatisfaction. He has lent us Miss Williams and Scott, and says that any book of his will always be at my service. In short, I am soothed and complimented into tolerable comfort. We had a visit yesterday from Edud. Knight and Mr. Maskell joined him here, and this morning has brought Mr. Maskell's compliments and 2 pheasants. We have some hope of Edward's coming to dinner today. He will, if he can, I believe. He is looking extremely well. Tomorrow Mr. Haddon is to dine with us. There is happiness. We really grow so fond of Mr. Haddon that I do not know what to expect. He and Mr. Tilson and Mr. Phillips made up our circle of wits last night. Fanny played, and he sat and listened and suggested improvements, till Richard came in to tell him that the doctor was waiting for him at Captain Blake's, and then he was off with a speed that you can imagine. He never does appear in the least above his profession or out of humor with it, or I should think poor Captain Blake, whoever he is, in a very bad way. I must have misunderstood Henry when I told you that you were to hear from him today. He read me what he wrote to Edward. Part of it must have amused him. I am sure one part, alas, cannot be very amusing to anybody. I wonder that with such business to worry him he can be getting better, but he certainly does gain strength, and if you and Edud were to see him now, I feel sure that you would think him improved since Monday. He was out yesterday. It was a fine sunshiny day here. In the country perhaps you might have clouds and fogs. Dare I say so? I shall not deceive you if I do, as to my estimation of the climate of London, and he ventured first on the balcony and then as far as the greenhouse. He caught no cold and therefore has done more today, with great delight and self-persuasion of improvement. He has been to see Mrs. Tilson and the Mailings. By the by, you may talk to Mr. T of his wife's being better. I saw her yesterday, and was sensible of her having gained ground in the last 2 days. Evening, we have had no Edward. Our circle is formed. Only Mr. Tilson and Mr. Haddon. We are not so happy as we were. A message came this afternoon from Mrs. Laddoch and Miss East, offering themselves to drink tea with us tomorrow, and as it was accepted, here is an end of our extreme felicity in our dinner guest. I am heartily sorry they are coming. It will be an evening spoilt to Fanny and me. Another little disappointment. Mr. H. advises Henry's not venturing with us in the carriage tomorrow. If it were spring, he says, it would be a different thing. One would rather this had not been. He seems to think his going out today rather imprudent, though acknowledging at the same time that he is better than he was in the morning. Fanny has had a letter full of commissions from Goodnestone. We shall be busy about them and her own matters, I dare say, from 12 to 4. Nothing, I trust, will keep us from Keppel Street. This day has brought a most friendly letter from Mr. Fowle, with a brace of pheasants. I did not know before that Henry had written to him a few days ago to ask for them. We shall live upon pheasants, no bad life. I send you 5 £1 notes for fear you should be distressed for little money. Lizzie's work is charmingly done. Shall you put it to your chintz? A sheet came in this moment. First Anid Vols are now at 144, second at 48. I am sure you will like particulars. We are not to have the trouble of returning the sheets to Mr. Murray any longer. The printer's boys bring and carry. I hope Mary continues to get well fast, and I send my love to little Herbert. You will tell me more of Martha's plans, of course, when you write again. Remember me most kindly to everybody, and Miss Ben besides. Yours very affectionately, J. Austen. I have been listening to Dreadful Insanity. It is Mr. Haddon's firm belief that a person not musical is fit for every sort of wickedness. I ventured to assert a little on the other side, but wished the cause in abler hands. Miss Austen Chawton. Chapter 70. Hans Place Sunday No. My dearest, the parcel arrived safely, and I am much obliged to you for your trouble. It cost twos, 10d, but as there is a certain saving of twos, for a half d, on the other side I am sure it is well worth doing. I send 4 pair of silk stockings, but I do not want them washed at present. In the 3 neck handkerchiefs I include the ones sent down before. These things, perhaps, Edud may be able to bring, but even if he is not, I am extremely pleased with his returning to you from Steventon. It is much better, far preferable. I did mention the PR in my note to Mr. Murray. It brought me a fine compliment in return. Whether it has done any other good I do not know, but Henry thought it worth trying. The printers continue to supply me very well. I am advanced in vol. I, to my arrarut, upon which peculiar style of spelling there is a modest query in the margin. I will not forget Anna's arrarut. I hope you have told Martha of my first resolution of letting nobody know that I might dedicate, etc., for fear of being obliged to do it, and that she is thoroughly convinced of my being influenced now by nothing but the most mercenary motives. I have paid 9 shillings on her account to Miss Palmer. There was no more owing. Well, we were very busy all yesterday, from 11:30 till 4 in the streets, working almost entirely for other people, driving from place to place after a parcel for Sandling, which we could never find, and encountering the miseries of Grafton House to get a purple frock for a leaner. Bridges, we got to Capel St, however, which was all I cared for, and though we could stay only a quarter of an hour, Fanny's calling gave great pleasure, and her sensibility still greater, for she was very much affected at the sight of the children. Poor little F looked heavy. We saw the whole party. Aunt Harriet hopes Cassie will not forget to make a pincushion for Mrs. Kelly, as she has spoken of its being promised her several times. I hope we shall see Aunt H. and the dear little girls here on Thursday. So much for the morning. Then came the dinner and Mr. Haddon, who brought good manners and clever conversation. From 7 to 8 the harp. At 8 Mrs. L. and Miss E. arrived, and for the rest of the evening the drawing-room was thus arranged. On the sofa side the 2 ladies, Henry and myself, making the best of it. On the opposite side Fanny and Mr. Haddon, in 2 chairs, I believe at least they had 2 chairs, talking together uninterruptedly. Fancy the scene, and what is to be fancied next? Why, that Mr. H. dines here again tomorrow. Today we are to have Mr. Barlow. Mr. H. is reading Mansfield Park for the first time and prefers it to P and P. A hare and 4 rabbits from G.M. yesterday, so that we are stocked for nearly a week. Poor Farmer Andrews, I am very sorry for him and sincerely wish his recovery. A better account of the sugar than I could have expected. I should like to help you break some more. I am glad you cannot wake early. I am sure you must have been under great arrears of rest. Fanny and I have been to B Chapel and walked back with Maria Cuthbert. We have been very little plagued with visitors this last week. I remember only Miss Harry's, the aunt, but I am in terror for today, a fine bright Sunday, plenty of mortar and nothing to do. Henry gets out in his garden every day, but at present his inclination for doing more seems over, nor has he now any plan for leaving London before when he thinks of going to Oxford for a few days. Today, indeed, his feelings are for continuing where he is through the next 2 months. One knows the uncertainty of all this, but should it be so, we must think the best and hope the best and do the best, and my idea in that case is that when he goes to Oxford I should go home and have nearly a week of you before you take my place. This is only a silent project, to be gladly given up if better things occur. Henry calls himself stronger every day, and Mr. H. keeps on approving his pulse, which seems generally better than ever, but still, they will not let him be well. Perhaps when Fanny is gone he will be allowed to recover faster. I am not disappointed. I never thought the little girl at Yard's very pretty, but she will have a fine complexion and curly hair and pass for a beauty. We are glad the mamma's cold has not been worse, and send her our love and good wishes by every convenient opportunity. Sweet, amiable Frank. Why does he have a cold too? Like Captain Mervyn to Mr. Duval, I wish it well over with him. Fanny has heard all that I have said to you about herself, and Mr. H. thank you very much for the sight of dearest Charles's letter to yourself. How pleasantly and how naturally he writes, and how perfect a picture of his disposition and feelings his style conveys. Poor dear fellow, not a present. I have a great mind to send him all the 12 copies which were to have been dispersed among my near connections, beginning with the P.R. and ending with Countess Morley. Adieu. Yours affectionately, J. Austen. Give my love to Cassie and Mary Jane. Caroline will be gone when this reaches you. Miss Austen. Chapter 71. Hans Place, Saturday. My dear Cassandra, Henry came back yesterday, and might have returned the day before if he had known as much in time. I had the pleasure of hearing from Mr. T. on Wednesday night that Mr. Seymour thought there was not the least occasion for his absenting himself any longer. I had also the comfort of a few lines on Wednesday morning from Henry himself, just after your letter was gone, giving so good an account of his feelings as made me perfectly easy. He met with the utmost care and attention at Hanwell, spent his 2 days there very quietly and pleasantly, and being certainly in no respect the worse for going, we may believe that he must be better, as he is quite sure of being himself. To make his return a complete gala, Mr. Haddon was secured for dinner. I need not say that our evening was agreeable. But you seem to be under a mistake as to Mr. H. You call him an apothecary. He is no apothecary. He has never been an apothecary. There is not an apothecary in this neighborhood. The only inconvenience of the situation, perhaps, but so it is. We have not a medical man within reach. He is a Haddon, nothing but a Haddon, a sort of wonderful nondescript creature on 2 legs, something between a man and an angel, but without the least spice of an apothecary. He is, perhaps, the only person not an apothecary hereabouts. He has never sung to us. He will not sing without a pianoforte accompaniment. Mr. Mayers gives his 3 lessons a week, altering his days and his hours, however, just as he chooses, never very punctual and never giving good measure. I have not Fanny's fondness for masters, and Mr. Mayers does not give me any longing after them. The truth is, I think, that they are all, at least music masters, made of too much consequence, and allowed to take too many liberties with their scholars' time. We shall be delighted to see Edward on Monday, only sorry that you must be losing him. A turkey will be equally welcome with himself. He must prepare for his own proper bedchamber here, as Henry moved down to the one below last week. He found the other cold. I am sorry my mother has been suffering, and am afraid this exquisite weather is too good to agree with her. I enjoy it all over me from top to toe, from right to left, longitudinally, perpendicularly, diagonally, and I cannot but selfishly hope we are to have it last till Christmas. Nice, unwholesome, unseasonable, relaxing, close, muggy weather. Oh, thank you very much for your long letter. It did me a great deal of good. Henry accepts your offer of making his 9 gallon of mead thankfully. The mistake of the dogs rather vexed him for a moment, but he has not thought of it since. Today he makes a 3rd attempt at his strengthening plaister, and as I am sure he will now be getting out a great deal, it is to be wished that he may be able to keep it on. He sets off this morning by the Chelsea coach to sign bonds and visit Henrietta St., and I have no doubt will be going every day to Henrietta St. Fanny and I were very snug by ourselves as soon as we were satisfied about our invalids being safe at Hanwell. By maneuvering and good luck, we foiled all the Mailing's attempts upon us. Happily, I caught a little cold on Wednesday, the morning we were in town, which we made very useful, and we saw nobody but our precious and Mr. Tilson. This evening the Mailings are allowed to drink tea with us. We are in hopes, that is, we wish, Miss Palmer and the little girls may come this morning. You know, of course, that she could not come on Thursday, and she will not attempt to name any other day. God bless you. Excuse the shortness of this, but I must finish it now, that I may save you 2D. Best love. Yours affectionately, J. A. It strikes me that I have no business to give the P.R. a binding, but we will take counsel upon the question. I am glad you have put the flounce on your chintz. I am sure it must look particularly well, and it is what I had thought of. Miss Austen. Chawton Alton Hants. Footnote. Chapter 72. Chawton Feb. 20, 1816. My dearest Fanny, you are inimitable, irresistible. You are the delight of my life. Such letters, such entertaining letters as you have lately sent, such a description of your queer little heart, such a lovely display of what imagination does. You are worth your weight in gold, or even in the new silver coinage. I cannot express to you what I have felt in reading your history of yourself. How full of pity and concern, and admiration and amusement I have been. You are the paragon of all that is silly and sensible, commonplace and eccentric, sad and lively, provoking and interesting. Who can keep pace with the fluctuations of your fancy, the capriccios of your taste, the contradictions of your feelings? You are so odd and all the time so perfectly natural. so peculiar in yourself and yet so like everybody else. It is very, very gratifying to me to know you so intimately. You can hardly think what a pleasure it is to me to have such thorough pictures of your heart. Oh, what a loss it will be when you are married. You are too agreeable in your single state, too agreeable as a niece. I shall hate you when your delicious play of mind is all settled down into conjugal and maternal affections. Mr. B frightens me. He will have you. I see you at the altar. I have some faith in Mrs. C. Cage's observation and still more in Lizzie's, and besides, I know it must be so. He must be wishing to attach you. It would be too stupid and too shameful in him to be otherwise, and all the family are seeking your acquaintance. Do not imagine that I have any real objection. I have rather taken a fancy to him than not, and I like the house for you. I only do not like you should marry anybody, and yet I do wish you to marry very much because I know you will never be happy till you are, but the loss of a Fanny Knight will be never made up to me. My effect, niece FCB, will be but a poor substitute. I do not like your being nervous and so apt to cry. It is a sign you are not quite well, but I hope Mr. Scud, as you always write his name, your Mr. Scuds amuse me very much, will do you good. What a comfort that Cassandra should be so recovered. It was more than we had expected. I can easily believe she was very patient and very good. I always loved Cassandra for her fine dark eyes and sweet temper. I am almost entirely cured of my rheumatism. Just a little pain in my knee now and then, to make me remember what it was, and keep on flannel. Aunt Cassandra nursed me so beautifully. I enjoy your visit to Goodness Stone. It must be a great pleasure to you. You have not seen Fanny Cage in comfort so long. I hope she represents and remonstrates and reasons with you properly. Why should you be living in dread of his marrying somebody else? Yet how natural? You did not choose to have him yourself. Why not allow him to take comfort where he can? In your conscience, you know that he could not bear a companion with a more animated character. You cannot forget how you felt under the idea of its having been possible that he might have dined in Hans Place. My dearest Fanny, I cannot bear you should be unhappy about him. Think of his principles, think of his father's objection, of want of money, etc., etc. But I am doing no good. No, all that I urge against him will rather make you take his part more, sweet, perverse Fanny. And now I will tell you that we like your Henry to the utmost, to the very top of the glass, quite brimful. He is a very pleasing young man. I do not see how he could be mended. He does really bid fair to be everything his father and sister could wish, and William I love very much indeed, and so we do all. He is quite our own William. In short, we are very comfortable together. That is, we can answer for ourselves. Mrs. Deeds is as welcome as may to all our benevolence to her son. We only lamented that we could not do more, and that the 50L note we slipped into his hand at parting was necessarily the limit of our offering. Good Mrs. Deeds, scandal and gossip. Yes, I dare say you are well stocked, but I am very fond of Mrs., for reasons good. Thank you for mentioning her praise of Emma, etc. I have contributed the marking to Uncle H's shirts, and now they are a complete memorial of the tender regard of many. Friday, I had no idea when I began this yesterday of sending it before your brother went back, but I have written away my foolish thoughts at such a rate that I will not keep them many hours longer to stare me in the face. Much obliged for the quadrilles, which I am grown to think pretty enough, though of course they are very inferior to the cotillons of my own day. Ben and Anna walked here last Sunday to hear Uncle Henry, and she looked so pretty. It was quite a pleasure to see her, so young and so blooming and so innocent, as if she had never had a wicked thought in her life, which yet one has some reason to suppose she must have had, if we believe the doctrine of original sin. I hope Lizzie will have her play very kindly arranged for her. Henry is generally thought very good-looking, but not so handsome as Edward. I think I prefer his face. W.M. is in excellent looks, has a fine appetite, and seems perfectly well. You will have a great break-up at Godmersham in the spring. You must feel they're all going. It is very right, however. Poor Miss C. I shall pity her when she begins to understand herself. Your objection to the quadrilles delighted me exceedingly. Pretty well, for a lady irrecoverably attached to one person. Sweet Fanny, believe no such thing of yourself, spread no such malicious slander upon your understanding within the precincts of your imagination. Do not speak ill of your sense merely for the gratification of your fancy. Yours is sense which deserves more honorable treatment. You are not in love with him. You never have been really in love with him. Yours very affectionately,